And now, our feature presentation.
I like it spooky.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast. I'm Brian.
I am Clint, and as of this recording, we are 1 day removed from the Flashback Weekend Horror Convention in Chicago. And you know, Brian, I've said this before, and I will say it again. Convention withdrawal is real.
I took Monday off because I'm super tired, but I miss my friends.
I love spending time there and seeing everybody and catching up with everybody, but it's just, yeah, the day after, it's like the night after a haunt. You're tired and you kind of have to come back to reality, and it's just bullshit. Speaking of reality, let's get to some news.
So I have two news stories that I'd like to talk about today. First one, Maxine is now available to rent or own on digital. So this is from our friends at ihorror.com. It says, although it wasn't as well received as other films in the trilogy, Maxine is still a great film. Hell, I enjoyed it. But now it's on Amazon just a month after its theatrical release.
That's fast.
Yeah, really fast.
So do you think it didn't perform well in the box office? So they're like, let's hurry up and shuffle it over to streaming so we can make some money off this?
Well, and, while there's still maybe a little bit of buzz that it's just got done, so people are like, oh, I didn't get it at the box office. I still really wanted to see it. So they're going to pay for it now.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either, and I want to. I just haven't had time.
I mean, I had fun seeing it, but I got to see it for free at the Last Picture House. Thank you, A24, and the Last Picture House.
How do you beat free? Of course you had fun.
Yeah, and I took my buddy. He bought me a pizza beforehand, so hell, how could you not enjoy that?
The movie could have sucked, and you'd have been like, this is the best thing ever.
And the movie didn't suck, and I really liked the soundtrack. And it sounds like there's going to be more from Maxine. I don't know where we've got that information, if anywhere online, but that's the rumblings I've heard.
I'll have to watch the movie, which I want to anyway, so maybe I can pretend that I know where I think it might be going. But, I mean, with this being her third movie, Pearl, X, and Pearl, and now Maxine, she seems to be popular. So, yeah, why get rid of her? People are going to pay to keep coming and see her. Why the hell not?
She's an ascending star into the twilight.
It's almost like the character is coming to life. She wants to be a star so bad, but in reality, like, she is becoming a star and people want to see her. Art imitating life.
When you have time to see it, we'll talk about where you think it's going and where I would love for it to go. So if you have time, in the next couple months or years, we'll talk about it. By the time you have time to watch it, the next movie will be out already.
And I'll watch it then and I'll go, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. Thumbs up. I know what I'm talking about. What's your other news?
My other news is that, and I don't know if we talked about this before, the original Faces of Death will be available to watch on Shudder very soon. And by very soon, I mean August 1st, I think. Did we talk about this one?
Well, we talked about this a while ago because we were talking about, I think I covered it on Spill the Guts, and then it came up in an episode 2, 3, 4 episodes back.
So this is the original 1980s Faces of Death.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the remake or the new one, the reboot or whatever.
The reboot did get a rating of rated R, so that's good that it got a rated R rating. It didn't get PG-13. So we have that news. So that means the film's done. We just don't have any idea of when it's going to be released. But no, this is the original Faces of Death from Dark Sky Films, who was a vendor at Flashback. It's on Shudder now. I mean, it's been on Shudder for a couple weeks. It comes out August 1st. So you can go back, or you can go now and watch the original Faces of Death, knowing what we know now, but maybe some of our younger listeners have no idea about.
And our younger listeners don't get in trouble by we don't want to get in trouble by your, Clint Bryan said we could go to Shudder and watch this. It's okay. But I mean, that just shows you how far we've come, because that was when that came out in the early to mid 80s or whatever. It was just so taboo and shocking and X-rated and non-rated and Mondo and all that. And now you can just go on Shudder and watch it for free.
Banned in 46 countries. Took forever to get out. I think you had to bootleg it forever. Come to find out that, spoiler alert, most of the deaths weren't even real. They'd like record it up to a point, and then they'd gore it up and snippet stuff in. There's a lady that jumps off the top of a building. One of the many deaths, and they like almost get to the point where she hits the ground, and then they cut, and it's these people running up to a body laying in the dirt, like smashed into the ground. That part was fake, but this lady did actually jump off a building and died. Just the part where she's in the ground is fake. But there are some real deaths in the movie.
Well, which we talked about that before, because once you get into part 2 and 3 and 4, and I don't think there was a part 5. I think this went to part 4. A lot of them were fake then it was just them capitalizing on the name that they had created. So,
but yeah, you can go online now and see things a million times worse.
Rotten.com. Bring back Rotten.com. Well, for news, I have some more stuff. Brian, you and I were talking about this over the weekend while we were in the hotel room at Flashback. It's more stuff from Stop the Killer Games. Stop the Killer has brought us My Bloody Valentine, which I own 2 of. Still haven't even opened the one I want to play with. It started with the Silent Night, Deadly Night game. They did a Halloween 2 game. They did something else, too. I can't remember what it was, or maybe I'm crazy, which is very well possible. But they're getting ready to come out with Black Christmas. It's the 50-year anniversary of Black Christmas. And it says here that the Kickstarter, it looks like it's going to start August 13th. By the time you hear this, which is the same day that the movie we're covering later comes out, we'll get to that in a little bit. So by the time you're hearing this, you can go over to Kickstarter and you can type in Black Christmas. And what's interesting about this is there's going to be a board game with exclusive 3D view box top, brand new tie-in novel, which has kind of become a running theme with the Stop the Killer stuff. But this is what I'm interested about. A 13-inch full-size crystal unicorn prop replica from the movie. And that, to me, is worth the price of admission right there.
So you said they'd done Halloween. They did a Ghostface game?
I can't remember. It seems like there was another one after Halloween, too.
Happy Birthday to Me, Candyman, Thanksgiving they're doing one of?
Have they done that one yet, or was that just announced?
Ships November 2024, so I would imagine it's already been paid. Basket Case?
Well, they've done a whole bunch that I haven't paid attention to then.
Hell, I don't know. A lot of them.
That's a whole lot of stuff to spend money on.
That's way too damn much to spend money on. And we're broke after Flashback.
And very broke after Flashback.
So on this episode of Why Are We Poor? Flashback edition, right? Next edition will be whatever you go to next, and I stay home.
Ohio Terracon.
So this didn't cost me anything, but our friend Brent Edgick gave me a copy of Fall of Camp Blood, and it's autographed by a bunch of people, and you can go watch this on YouTube for free.
But it is also autographed by Brent because he plays Jason in that movie. One of the best portrayals of Jason I've ever seen, especially in a fan film.
And from our friends at Dark Sky Films, I picked up Deathgasm.
I love that fucking movie, and I passed that movie along to other people, and they immediately got back to me and said, "Thank you. I love this fucking movie too."
Faces of Death on Blu-ray, banned in 43 countries. This is the 30th anniversary edition.
Hey, Brian, I don't know if you know this, but you can watch that on Shudder now.
Mm-hmm. And then in their 2 for $5 bin, they had Faces of Death, the original, on DVD, and Faces of Death 2 and the worst of Faces of Death. So I bought 2 copies of each of those because for $2.50. And then do you remember the people that were behind us? Do you remember their names?
Oh my God, no. We talk to them every year, but I do not remember. I know they're going to be at Scarefest.
Horrorland Media.
So they will also be at Scarefest weekend in Kentucky the 3rd week of October.
And from Scream Team Releasing, I picked up a copy of Cryptids because it has Joe Bob Briggs in it. And it's got a bunch of pictures of the creatures on the back that actually look, makeup-wise, look cool. So, and it won a bunch of awards.
When you're done with that, I want to check it out because I've gone on record that I've got nothing against Joe Bob. I've got nothing against the mutant family. It just was never my thing. You know what I mean? But that movie has had my interest ever since it was announced. I want to see it.
And then for my buddy Rod, I got this stuffed candle from these people at inkmares.com. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Aren't they the people that... No. Yeah, I've heard of them. It's me.
From Terror Vision, Slashers, and Blood Car. These are for Rod, too, on Blu-ray.
Now, Slashers and Blood Car, you did a screening of, and that was at the Capitol in Burlington, Iowa, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of those ones I wanted to make it to, and I didn't. But I still really want to see Blood Car.
And then is this Skullhouse Den? I got these Godzilla earrings, or you got these Godzilla earrings for Finley.
Rebecca had those, and I honestly can't remember from where now. And she had some other ones that she gave Boots. Then she showed me those, and I said, Boots probably isn't going to dig the Godzilla stuff. I said, but I know someone who might. And I didn't know if Finley had her ears pierced or not. So
Not yet, but I think it says Skullhouse Den. And then I got some artwork from Brian Hoover. You've seen that. I got that delivered. I need to get it sealed up. And then these, I don't know if I talked about these on the last show, the little matchbooks. Did I talk about these on the last show?
I don't remember if you have or not. All I know is let's talk about these matchbooks. I appreciate the gift, but he kept the Halloween one. He kept, I think it was another horror one. And he goes, hey, Clint, do you want this Tank Girl one? And I'm like, oh, sure. Yeah, I'll take the Tank Girl matchbox.
She's working on the lady that and her husband owned the place called Secondhand Smoke in Galesburg, Illinois. She's working on some more. And I asked about Return of the Living Dead and My Bloody Valentine. And the last time I was in there, she said, I can't find a My Bloody Valentine one, but I'm going to keep looking. So next time I'll go in there, I'll see what else she has, and I'll grab you something else. I mean, this one's cool. You want this one? It says, spell Ouija for a taste of evil. It's got their logo on the one side, and then I don't know, some demon looks like he's about ready to stab this lady in the face.
No, I'll keep the word Ouija out of my house. I don't need any bad mojo. I'm on the brink of insanity on a daily basis. I don't need any bad mojo.
I mean, I got a Pacific Rim Uprising book that was a quarter I'm going to give to Brian Clark. I got so much shit laying around here. I need to spend like a week just going through this office and putting shit away. And I mean, I got 2 boxes. I got Vinegar Syndrome and TerrorVision, the boxes from this month or last month, still sealed. I haven't even opened them to see what's inside of them. It's film festival season. I'm behind on watching movies.
Well, a couple funny stories then, because, well, first of all, I was going to say something else, but you just talked about the film festival. So while we were at Flashback, CJ Vicio, I'm sorry if I'm screwing up your last name, boss, from Chicago, recently took over the Chicagoland Horror Film Festival from Willie Atkins, our friend Willie. He was there promoting his film, The Evil 3. What was funny is I'm over there talking to him. Rebecca walked by, saw it, said, I want to see that. And I said, well, let's get over there and talk to him. I was like, because him and I are Facebook friends. He's on my feed more than I am. And so I go over there and introduce myself. And he goes, oh, okay. And we're talking and stuff and talking about the film festivals. And he's branching out, might be doing something in Milwaukee and all this. The woman who was there with him, who come to find out plays Leatherface in his movie Evil 3. Her name's Heather, so they call her Heatherface, I think it was, instead of Leatherface. Had come over prior to this and bought a Scream Queen shirt from the Ink Mirrors table. Anyway, we're talking about this stuff. I go back to the Ink Mirrors table afterwards. I'm telling Brian about it here. And he says, oh, yeah. He says, I was a judge in that film festival. I said, well, no shit. Small world. I didn't even know.
Yeah, you had tagged me in one of their posts that they had on Facebook, and I reached out to them, and they're like, oh, yeah, we give each person 5 short films. And I was like, well, I could do 5 fucking short films in an afternoon, in the morning, which I did. But yeah, I did 5 short films and submitted them, and I guess my name's on their film festival registry somewhere. I wasn't too worried about it. I just wanted to see if they had some cool shorts for me to watch.
Then, and CJ also knew Thomas Smith, the director of Valentine Bluffs. So again, that's another reason why I love going to horror conventions. I love Flashback in particular because it's just a gathering of all these people. And then a lot of times we all know each other and don't even fucking know that we know each other, so it's kind of cool. So I haven't watched it yet, but if you get a chance, check out The Evil 3. And kind of just a real quick synopsis. It's basically if Jason, Leatherface, and Michael Myers were all in jail together and then they break out. There's more to the story, but from what I gather, there's kind of like a Godzilla versus Kong. There's like a monster. There's like a Frankenstein meets the Wolfman type battle at the end. And one of these horror icons comes out the victor. But you got to watch the movie to find out.
I feel like when that happens, we all win.
Even if it's, silly or cheesy or even trashy, we do, because that kind of shit is just fun. Kind of like the last film we covered when we talked about Toxic Avenger. It's trauma, it's just fun. It's what it's supposed to be. So the other thing is when I was walking around at Flashback, I walked by the Severin Films table, and lo and behold, hanging off the front of the table are some toys made by our friend Josh Perlmutter at Bootleg as Fuck Toys, and they were the ones that he made up for when Brian arranged at the Galesburg Orpheum in Galesburg, Illinois, to have dead kids shown. And so I was, Brian, you got to come over here. And he said, yeah, I already saw him. And I go, bend down. You got to get your picture taken next to these. These are here, largely in part because of you. So I haven't seen you post those yet.
No, I haven't yet. Yeah, save stuff for later in the week. We got to pace ourselves. Just a ton of cool vendors, and every vendor that I talked to has said, well, I mean, we know Bootleg is Fuck Toys. We know Severin Films. I talked about Dark Sky Entertainment. I talked about the people I bought cryptids from, but Vinegar Syndrome, Caleb Creates, Creepy Customs, Adam's Art Box. I mean, just vendor after vendor with cool stuff. Just all cool people that we wish we had enough money to buy from all of them, but we don't. So we're poor.
Now with the prices of freaking autographs, I honestly think, and I haven't pitched this to you yet, but I'm kind of thinking I'll just do it now live. We should do a bonus episode sometime soon where we just kind of cover like a State of the Union address of horror conventions. I'm almost afraid to, because I actually have some negative things to say, which is sad because I love the horror convention scene. I love that component of our industry. It's great for networking and connecting and keeping us all together. But there's a lot of things that are kind of broken in it right now that I think we should do something sometime and talk about it. And maybe people listen and can chime in and see if they agree, or maybe we can all as a group figure out how to fix this, or all tell me to shut the fuck up, I'm crazy. Speaking of autograph prices, I am poor because I only got 2 autographs. 3 if you count the one that I got for our friends at Ted's Marvelous Custom Gumball Emporium. They were on a road trip, so they sent a toy with me to ask if I get it signed for them. I said, sure. But I got over and I met Ted Raimi, and I had Ted Raimi sign my NECA Henrietta from Evil Dead. And actually, I have 2. I have a Henrietta from Evil Dead 2 that my dumbass opened up and put in one of my fish tanks a while back before I adopted the cult of Clint, #save the box. But I have another one from the Ash vs. Evil Dead series, which Ted played Henrietta in that as well. So got over to meet him and, have his signature. It was a lot of fun. We sat there and chatted. When I met him last year in Detroit at Motor City Nightmares, he wanted one of my t-shirts, but I didn't have the size. And there was also some other celebrities and other people that wanted that in that size. So I went ahead and made one, went over and gave that to him, talked with him, got the autograph, got the picture. He choked me. It was kind of fun. And then I wandered over to meet Tom Atkins. I can't tell you how many times I've met Tom Atkins. How many autographs I have from Tom Atkins, I'm starting to lose count, but one of them was for Ted's Marvelous Custom Gumball Emporium. The other one was for my H3 figure of Tom Atkins, and had him sign that. So there were a couple other autographs that I thought about getting, but just like all congoers now, prices are going up and up and up. And so I was just kind of picking and choosing. So I spent some other money too. Went over to the Terror Threads booth and got an Art the Clown Terrifier shirt for Rebecca's dad. I feel bad, I don't remember the name of this vendor, but there was this really nice Halloween throw blanket that Rebecca had her eye on, and so we went over there and got that. And other than that, I just spent money on you fucks, dinners and tickets and coffees, but I'm not complaining because you guys really help me out when we're all there, and I appreciate the hell out of it.
Yeah, I only bought 1 autograph, but I'm going to save that story for next episode because again, I got to pace myself.
I guess so, but just drop a hint because I don't remember what autograph you got.
Student Bodies.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember now.
And that'll be a fun story for the next episode because I may get nothing. I mean, I guess I could open these boxes up that have movies in them because I have no idea what's in there.
Since we spent all this money at Flashback, do you know what's going to help us actually be able to get to the next episode?
Ibuprofen?
That's already been flowing through my veins, my friend. A sponsor. So let's hear from somebody who can carry us over to the next episode.
If your popcorn is ready for a good scare, you're in for a treat. It's time to face the Blob. On Saturday, August 31st, the historic Capitol Theater in Burlington, Iowa, turns into your ultimate horror haven. Join the Prescribed Films Podcast Network for a spine-chilling screening of the 1988 remake of The Blob. Doors creak open at 6 p.m. The terror begins at 7 p.m., but that's just the beginning. After the movie, stick around for a live podcast recording featuring the hosts of Attack of the Killer podcast, I Like It Spooky Horror podcast, and Brett and Tony with Ash and Abe. Dive deep into the ooze of horror as we dissect the making of The Blob and share our most horrifying moments. And when the credits roll, the night isn't over. Head to the Nightcap Listening Lounge for an after-party with fellow fans and podcast hosts. Tickets are just $5. Grab yours now at burlingtoncapitaltheater.com. Sponsored by Dame Fine Coffee. Don't miss out on the scare of a lifetime. For more information, contact Brian Godsell.
So now we've heard from our sponsor, it's time for our movie. And aren't we lucky? We got on the Screambox PR emails, and once a month they'll send you what's coming out. And you can ask for a screener of certain films. And I've thought about doing it before, but shared the email with you, and we both were like, oh, we want to see this. So we asked for a screener of the film that's out now. It premieres August 13th on Screambox. It's from Screambox and Bloody Disgusting, and it's called We Are Zombies.
Yeah, we shambled across this Screambox original from a post on Bloody Disgusting, where we go to get a lot of news. It had a very entertaining trailer. And then, yeah, I was like, I think I said, did you see this? And you were like, yeah, this looks really good. And I was like, we should see if we can cover it because, at the time and actually as of this recording, it hasn't been released yet. And yeah, Brian sent him an email and they said, sure, here's a screener. So very cool. And I'm so glad they did because let's talk about why we did or didn't enjoy this movie.
Well, I mean,
oh, the suspense is killing me. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I enjoyed it. The acting was good. I wouldn't say it was great. Great special effects, though. And some laugh out loud moments for me. I mean, I thought it was funny. I mean, the story's kind of, I mean, we've heard the story or seen the story before. It's the future, maybe, possibly.
Kind of looked like a dystopian future, but not that far ahead. This movie's going to be hard to cover because, again, since it just came out, we don't want to give too much of it away. But in my opinion, it had a great concept and it had an even greater opening. The opening was so much fun.
It's a dystopian future. Zombies are back, but they're not eating people. They're just kind of, it's funny. There's almost some political undertones. Did you catch that?
Oh, this movie is loaded with social commentary, but much like in a Trauma way, where it didn't seem like it was one side of a two-party system, it was just kind of general social commentary.
These people are taking our jobs. They work all day and night. They don't need to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, there was stuff in there about illegal aliens. There was stuff in there about human rights issues. There was stuff in there about like big pharma and corporate greed.
I really enjoyed this film, and the three main characters is a guy, his best friend, and then the guy's half sister. They have a scheme where they pick up, what do they call them?
Oh, well, they go pick up zombies recently. It's almost like that was another issue, kind of like, people discarding senior citizens. It was basically like when their older loved one or whatever, their loved one turned into a zombie and they couldn't care for them anymore. They had them shipped away to these like almost like nursing homes or whatever. But it was they called them extraction teams or something. I can't remember.
They called the zombies the living impaired. They didn't call them zombies anymore. Because you remember the first one they pick up, the kid shoots the guy. It's the grandpa. He's passed, and the young kid shoots him. And the dad says, well, you can't do that.
He's like, stop shooting grandpa. I told you that.
And he's like, well, why not? And he's like, well, you wouldn't shoot. They use the R word. You wouldn't shoot a retard. They use that word. So what makes you think it's okay to shoot a living impaired person? They're the same thing. Again, more commentary on political stuff or social media or social injustice stuff. But yeah, it all ties in. They do a great job of it. And it's throughout the movie. But again, we don't want to give too much of it away because most people haven't seen it.
Well, I'm going to give this away, and that is our heroes, who Brian already talked about. They resemble SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. Watch this fucking movie and prove me wrong.
And yeah, the one guy is kind of dumb like Patrick. And yeah, the other guy's just kind of that would be about the best way to put it. Because she's the ringleader.
Yeah, she hacks into the computer system of the corporation to tell them where to go to round up these bodies, these living impaired. Sorry, living impaired. But we're talking about, so the one that reminded me of Patrick, he was the bigger guy who he would slip on a lucha libre mask, and when he did that, I forget what he called himself, but that was cool about this movie too. Is if you're a pro wrestling fan, there was a lot of pro wrestling stuff sprinkled in. So that was part of the humor, part of the fun. Derek Johns, who plays Freddy, reminded me a little bit of early Jack Black. In fact, I had to go to the Internet Movie Database because I was like, is this like Jack Black's kid or illegitimate? So like, it's almost like Jack Black had a drunken weekend in Canada and left a child somewhere, and doesn't know about it. Do you think his name was Freddy as like a throwback or a nod to Return of the Living Dead?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I would imagine. I mean, it makes sense. Because was the one scientist, Dr. West? Did you catch that?
Oh, I didn't until now. I was having so much fun with the movie that I didn't latch on to a lot of it, particulars.
Dr. Judith West. So I was like, oh, like Herbert West? So this is based on a graphic novel, The Zombies That Ate the World by Jerry Frizen, and is from Canada, maybe France. It's not American.
Well, there was a lot of like Pierre and like a French Canadian names in the credits. So, but yeah, this was made by the same people who made Turbo Kid, which if you haven't seen Turbo Kid, go watch Turbo Kid. I love that fucking movie. And it was also made by the filmmakers of Summer of '84, which I think is on Shudder, or was, that I haven't seen yet. Brian, you said you've seen it, and it's a great flick.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But yeah, just fun. Freddy finds an ear in his fries, and he says,
And it's like, it's his uncle's restaurant. He's like, Uncle Tony or whatever, I told you about this. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I told the chef, but he can't hear me. Ha ha ha. And the zombie blood pouring from the zombie cook's ear. Yeah.
So a lot of blood, a lot of guts. Maybe could have used more. I wouldn't have minded more. I mean, there's plenty, but
I have here in my notes, I said when the gore is present, it's very splatterific and chunky. It wasn't absent, but I wanted more too. And I don't know if there was budget restrictions or whatever. There was a little bit more story here than kind of what I wanted for this type of film. I'm not complaining about it at all because it was a lot of fucking fun. And you're talking about the acting being great. And this goes with both and the effects too. I was totally in love with Otto Maddox, that character who was played by, I don't know how you say it because it had the hyphen above his name or whatever there, or the accent, but Stefanie Demers, or maybe it's not Stephanie. I don't know. Sorry, buddy, if I'm screwing your name up. I totally bombed it. I'm also in love with all of his art creations, specifically the giant multi-armed zombie towards the end. And I can't help but think that was inspired by the sewer zombie from the Negan Maggie Walking Dead spinoff Dead City that recently came out. It was just a very cool, besides the Walking Dead tie-in, original creation.
I feel like that's a Resident Evil zombie kind of like too. Something you'd see in that game.
Yeah, you could see something like that where it's all mutated.
I wanted more blood. But yeah, that character of Otto was just, he's fucking throwing 10 pounds of glitter up in the air. It goes over everybody and they're like, what the fuck's going on here? The guys that kidnap. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but you're like, what the fuck? Like, this idiot's twirling a gun and now he's a zombie. Then this person ends up being a zombie.
Do you know who else was a zombie and it was funny as hell?
Who's that?
Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa zombie was pretty fucking funny.
Mother Teresa, you look great in the white and blue. You pull it off well.
So I got to say that if you're a fan of Shaun of the Dead, which this is not like Shaun of the Dead, but it has that balanced zombie comedy to it. If you're a fan of Shaun of the Dead, Brian, before we started recording, you brought up Fido, which this is fairly similar to Fido, although in this movie, We Are Zombies, the dead come back and they're just here. They're not ravenous. I believe in Fido, which I haven't seen. I think I saw clips from. The zombies were domesticated like pets or cattle with shock collars to, do mundane tasks and cart, getters at the grocery store and stuff. So it's a little different. God, I don't know. It's just a fun movie.
This could almost be like one of the Return of the Living Dead shoot-offs, but those zombies again they start bad, but I feel like by part 3, the main character, the female zombie in part 3, has some control over what she does.
It's funny you say that because when about 3/4 of the way through this, I'm like, this almost gave me that, or Return of the Living Dead, Ray from the Grave, and Necropolis feel. Those movies, in my opinion, and just about everybody else's on the planet, are pieces of trash. They just bombed. They were straight to sci-fi. They were terrible. But this is sort of kind of in that same vein with the comedy, but We Are Zombies got it way better. They got it right as opposed to Necropolis.
Town this movie takes place in is called
was Necropolis,
and it's a comedy. It's horror, but it's pretty black comedy. It's got a lot of comedy, a lot of stupid, like they run the one zombie over and he's just ripped into shreds, stuck in the tire,
and he's sitting there like, get me out of here, I'm stuck here, help me out. Right? Yeah.
Well, she's like, oh, we're sorry, and he's like, I've had worse days.
Yeah. It had some intelligent humor. It had a lot of dick and fart jokes. And again, it had that social relevancy, but this is something I want to point out too. I don't know if you caught this. The messages being conveyed by the filmmakers are relevant, but the film had a very kind of like very late 80s, early 90s Beverly Hills Cop, Fletch Lives type action comedy synth music to it. It was like you're watching that comedy detective sleuth movie.
Which did not fit, but it didn't take away from the film.
Well, it reminded me because when they did Turbo Kid, they very much were trying to capture that 80s post-apocalyptic Mad Max style type film, which was, huge in the 80s. And so it was almost like this movie was moving on to the 90s and they wanted to catch that Men at Work or Beverly Hills Cop type feel.
probably one of my favorite parts of the film is when the guy goes to his coworker's house, or coworker. I don't know if they're really coworkers because they don't really work. They're more scam artists than anything. And he's pulling up the website for ZILFS, zombies. I'd like, yeah, zombie milfs, and he's wrestling with him, and the kid's like got lotion all over his hands. It doesn't look like he has pants on, and he finally catches an idea that he's doing that, and he's like, "Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes." And then they go to find the ZILF, and they go in the building, and the guy's like, "What's your username?" And his username was
Masturbator _69.
And the zombie says, "Come again?"
Yep, yeah.
And he has to say it a little louder. So just funny lines like that. I had fun with this. Finley came in towards the end of the movie and kind of was looking at it. And when I went to do my rating, she said 10 out of 10. I was like, I'm not writing that down. And she made me write it on the paper.
Well, see, that's something is, I don't think this is gateway horror, but this is one of those movies that you can have on and your younger kids can be in the room. They're not going to get the humor because it's not, I mean, unless you don't want them to hear the word masturbation, or there are some swear words, but there's no nudity. Nothing was graphic. The gore was pretty cool. Yeah, I think you could have this on with anybody and it's okay.
Yeah, but the gore is almost, I wouldn't say cartoonish, but it's not like Saw gore or Cannibal Holocaust gore or...
It's more like Zombieland gore, and not even that gory gore. Very whimsical tone, lighthearted tone. And, I guess one thing we haven't really touched on is there is some story structure here. I think we've made this movie sound like it's just kind of like la 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 all through the place, but there is some story structure. I'm not going to get into it too much because, again, this would definitely give the movie away, but there is a evil pharma military corporation that has different plans for the world and what's going on. And so that's kind of a huge driving force of the story of this.
I don't know how much more you want to talk about the movie. We haven't really talked much about it, but we don't want to.
I want everybody to go to Screambox and watch this. And because I want everybody to watch this, and I want as much feedback as I can get, whether you want to email us at ilikeitspookypod@gmail.com, check out our socials and send me a message, because I want to know, like I said, prove me wrong. The three heroes are SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy.
Can't believe she's gone.
What did you say?
Do we want to rate it? I want people to go watch it too. I think if you haven't signed up for Screambox yet, go sign up for Screambox. I think they give you
like a month free, I think.
Check out what they have, watch this movie, and get back to us and say, yeah, I'm going to keep my Screambox. Or I didn't like that, and then we can say, well, maybe you should watch this on Screambox instead, because I really want to see that Frogman movie, so I need to go back, because I have Screambox, and watch that. I mean, if you need more of a reason to keep Screambox, Terrifier 3 will end up on Screambox eventually.
Absolutely. That's probably the first place it'll go.
I'm sure it'll do a theatrical run, but it's going to go to Screambox after that. So, I mean, that's a reason to keep it, but I think you keep Screambox. And there's also, some rumblings that USA Up All Night's coming back. Maybe not on USA, but Rhonda Shear did post on Twitter, I believe, a week or 2 or 3 ago, that she was in talks to bring Up All Night back. And I feel like Screambox would be a great landing place for that. I'm not sure where it's going to land, but I think they would be smart to go out and grab Rhonda Shear and bring her to Screambox.
I agree, but I also wonder, I wonder if it's going to go to Shudder, just because you already have the Joe Bob audience there, and it's similar to that. Wherever it goes, I'm watching, because I saw that and I'm like, holy shit, my education, my childhood is coming back to life. Yes,
that makes sense to go to Shudder. I would watch it, and I think Shudder and Screambox they're competing, but at the same time, it's a friendly competition where if they kind of like TNA and WWE right now, how there's that working relationship, always got to be working together, especially in the horror community. You said earlier, one of the best things about going to a convention is working together, networking. It's one big family, and there's plenty of room for all of us. Maybe not in this economy. That's part of the movie, that we could all do well.
Well, and you brought up the pro wrestling thing again, and again, that lives in this movie. There is nothing cooler than seeing a large man who calls himself the something gringo in a luchador mask, power bombing and clotheslining zombies. You just have to fucking see it. It's so cool.
Where does he keep the mask? I never even paid attention. Like in his...
He pulls that out of his pants, I think. Who knows?
I don't want to smell that mask.
Let's rate it. What do you think?
I'm going to go 8 out of 10 ZILFs. Zombies I'd like to. You know what that means. Most people know what that means. But yeah, 8 out of 10 ZILFs. I had fun with this. It's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination. It's not something you put on where you're like, I need a real serious movie. I want to be really scared. This is something you just throw on, if possible, in a group of people that enjoy these kind of movies, because you'd even have more fun with it. But it's definitely something that you should go check out.
This is something, like you say, in a group of people. This is something that I could see you or us screening somewhere someday and having a little party with it, having some zombie themed drinks and maybe a zombie makeup competition or something along with it. Just a fun fucking movie. I'm really glad that we covered this. We try to go all over the place, but we tend to go to the classics or older films. It was really refreshing to cover something that as of this recording hasn't even been released yet. Although the film came out in 2023 and I think it hit the con circuit, the film festival circuit. And I saw it had a Fantasia award and there was another award also. I think the Fantasia was an audience award. So it already shows that an audience, a group setting like you're talking about, appreciated this film. But our ratings here are kind of, yours went in the gutter and mine's heading right in the gutter too, because there is some sex jokes sprinkled out throughout this whole thing. I enjoyed the flick. Most of the performances were well done. I am going to say this, like Brian said, it's not a masterpiece. It seemed to be lacking something. It was a great story. It was well written, but it just seemed a little half tick flat. But with that said, I would love to screen it and I will watch it again. I'm going to go 7 out of 10 sex swings. And I'm not even going to tell you why I went 7 out of 10 sex swings. You just have to watch the movie to find out why the hell am I talking about a sex swing in a zombie movie.
So now that we've heard about Clint's sex swing, his joy of sex swings, or his love for sex swings, or
I just saw a sex swing
in the movie,
make me out to be a pervert here.
There's a sex swing in the movie that plays a very important, but you'll have to watch it to figure out where and why.
I know other people who play very important parts in various movies, whether it's talking about them, promoting them, being in them, who also might happen to like a sex swing or two. I don't fucking know, but that would be all of the people from our podcast network with all the great shows on the PFPN.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
So now that we've heard from our podcast network, it's time for This Day in Horror.
Really, meaning this day, not the past day. We're actually going to talk about this day and days in the future here.
Yeah, we're going to live the ghosts of horror movies, future and present, because I'm almost certain I did horror history, but I can't find my damn notes. So we're just going to have to talk about what's coming out soon to theaters.
A date which will live in infamy.
It's totally fitting, too, because this episode, again, the movie we just talked about, is a brand new movie. Brand new to Screambox as of August 13th. So let's talk about some new movies. These are all coming out in August of this year, and some are already out, and some will be out later this month. But the first one on this list, Brian has seen, and it is Trap with Josh Hartnett.
More suspenseful thriller. I wouldn't rush to the theater to see it, but if it's on streaming and you have somebody that likes serial killer movies that maybe isn't a big horror fan, it's something you could both watch.
I had an interest in seeing this. I knew it wasn't going to be horror and gore, but I've always been a fan of Josh Hartnett, and it looked interesting. It kind of almost looked like Die Hard, but he's the villain trying to get out of the building type thing. But yeah, just kind of a fresh take, and that's what I've actually really enjoyed. We talked about that the last couple episodes, that a lot of these movies that are coming out that I'm going to be reading off here in a second are fresh, they're unique. or even if they are inspired from things we've seen before, it's been a while since we've seen them. It's not yet another Halloween entry. It's not yet another Evil Dead entry. They're all just kind of more independent type cinema. Much like this one that I really want to see. This came out in theaters August 9th, and that is Cuckoo.
And it doesn't sound like it's playing close to me, so I may have to travel a little bit. Maybe I'll be lucky, and it'll play at the Last Picture House, and I can go see that.
I've heard a lot of excitement for Cuckoo, but that is the problem about a lot of these movies that we're listing off right now, these ones coming out, and with them being more independent in nature, is, they're not getting that wide theatrical release. It's, maybe 2,000 theaters across the country or something. What do we got next year? The Deliverance, which I know absolutely nothing about.
I know about Deliverance, and I don't want to be a part of that.
It says here that horror films based on true stories have long been in demand among fans, especially after the success of the franchises such as The Conjuring. The Deliverance, which is co-written and directed by Lee Daniels, is one such film based on the LaToya Ammons family possession that occurred in Indiana in 2011. It says here also that the film tells the narrative of LaToya Ammons and her 3 children who endure bizarre incidents in their new home in Indiana, leading them to believe that the house is a portal to hell.
I love how they lead with true stories like, what did it? The Conjuring. True stories.
Yeah, based on the Ed and Lorraine cases and stuff. The Deliverance says that it's going to be in theaters on August 16th and then will stream on Netflix on August 30th. So kind of like Maxine that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, not a long time between being in theater and released on streaming. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there are very few movies that you need to see in the theater now, especially if it's going to come out that fast.
Right, which is sad because we always talk about we're pro theater. But again, I think that the theaters should go more towards that 50s style shock cinema, gimmicky stuff to bring people in. Because if Maxine's going to show, at the theater and then a week later, a month later, show at home, then why go to the theater? But if you could go watch Maxine and there was, something gimmicky along with that film to go enjoy and experience, then go to the theater.
What else you got?
I got Alien Romulus, and this comes out on August 16th. So again, this is already out as well. I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi horror. I'm not a huge fan of the Alien franchise. I did like Aliens, the second one. This one I've seen the trailer for when I went and saw Longlegs, and I want to see this. I don't know if it's because Fede Alvarez has directed it and I enjoy his style, like when he did the Evil Dead remake back in 2013, I think it was. The trailer looked really good.
Yeah, I think this would be a film that would be enjoyable in a theater. Loud sound and, the special effects. They've done some cool stuff, it looks like, because it's possibly more in the future or, a different technology than was back then. But, they like shine the light through them and you can see the face hugger in their chest. Be interesting to check out.
It had that cool, Star Wars scene, too. Like, remember at the end of Star Wars when they got locked in the garbage there? And there was that worm thing that came up and dragged Han Solo underwater. I think it was Han Solo that got dragged underwater. There was a scene like that in the trailer with one of the face huggers. This next one is probably one of the things I'm most excited about because I've seen buzz about this for a while. It is from the producers of Terrifier 2. It's going to be in theaters on August 21st, and it is called Stream. And Stream is directed and co-written by Michael Levy. It is an intriguing horror film that will be released this August, and it tells the unique story for audiences who have grown tired of recurring serial killer flicks. What else is interesting about Stream, I don't know if you know this, Brian, but it stars Daniel Harris, Jeffrey Combs, and many other talented actors from the horror genre, or the horror universe from our genre. So it's going to be cool to see all those cameos and all that star power.
And I know Stream is showing at the Burlington Capitol Theater 2 nights. So maybe not wide release, maybe not the AMC, but it's showing in my area. That'd be a cool place to check it out, too.
I just came across this really quick synopsis here. It says, when Roy and Elaine Keenan realize their family is drifting apart, they decide that something needs to be done. Roy forces his work to take a back seat, and they seize the opportunity to recreate a vacation from their past. A peaceful stay in a quaint hotel is just what they need. However, that is not what is in store for them. With 4 deranged murderers patrolling the seemingly mundane halls, the odds are definitely not in the Keenan family's favor, and Roy must fight for his life and those of his family as their simple weekend getaway truly turns into a vacation to die for.
I've seen The Mask a lot floating around online too. Oh, it'd be worth checking out.
So I got a few more here, and this one is Strange Darling, and this is going to be in theaters on August 23rd. The tagline is "The Devil's in the Details." That looks, just by that tagline, it's going to be interesting. There's one coming out August 30th in theaters called Afraid. I've seen the trailer for this when I went and saw Longlegs, and this was about how AI ran the house and then kind of started talking to the little boy and starts overtaking the family's life. Did you see the trailer for that?
We had some weird trailers for Longlegs. I don't feel like we had horror trailers really.
This one is kind of following the footsteps of iRobot and Megan, those kind of style films where technology is taking over. But it also reminds me of Pulse a little bit, that came out back in the day. And that is it for this. Thank you for being here at movieweb.com horror history of the present and current future, because without this quick search, we would have been screwed. A lot of great stuff coming out, a lot of independent stuff coming out. There's some some established stuff like with Alien, sprinkled in there, some more mainstream stuff. So lots to see. And this is all just this month. I mean, when this episode airs, it's August 18th. And some of this came out before then, but it's all just the month of August. A lot of horror this month.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of horror films that I caught before Trap. I mean, one of the ones that I want to see, of course, we want to see Beetlejuice. Finley is like ready to see Beetlejuice. I bought her a t-shirt at Flashback. She's going to wear a t-shirt. She's ready to see this movie. And I think it looks fun. I'm excited to see it. But the other film that I saw the trailer for before Trap was Nosferatu. And I think it looks good. I think it looks scary. I love the setting. It's that period piece, but it has a lot of the devil and demons tied into it. I think it's going to be, I hope it lives up to the trailer. And it's got a great cast.
The great cast, I think, is going to help it, but I hope it does well, because about a year ago is when The Last Voyage of the Demeter came out, and that bombed. I don't know if people are just over the period pieces.
Did you see that one?
I did not.
I didn't either, yeah. But I think I will go see Nosferatu. I think it looks really good.
So the Beetlejuice, I just saw earlier today that they're starting to circulate pictures of the Beetlejuice popcorn buckets, collector popcorn buckets that are going to come out. Boy, they latched right onto that, didn't they? They're like, every movie that comes out, we're going to have a popcorn bucket.
I asked the people at the theater today if they had Wolverine popcorn buckets for, Deadpool and Wolverine. The lady said we sold out in 30 minutes, and we limited it to 2 people per bucket or per transaction, 2 buckets per person. And I said, I know a lot of places did like, we're going to sell 20 buckets on Monday, 20 on Tuesday. So they'd only sell so many a day, and then they would not sell anymore so that more people had a chance to buy them. But
when you went and asked them about the popcorn buckets, did you go up and say, hey, I have a question about the popcorn buckets? And they said to you, what's that question? You said, what the fuck is going on?
I just asked them when they were filling my popcorn bucket.
What the fuck was going on or is going on would be much more fun. You're lame.
It was noon on a Monday.
All right, sorry. What the heck is going on?
So let's see, this episode comes out, what do we say, August 18th? Well, hell, till September 1st. I got nothing other than going and seeing some new movies, checking out Screambox, see what else they have.
We just listed a whole list of movies that we got to get to the theater to see.
So no conventions for me. I know you'll just be wrapping up Ohio TerrorCon. You have any conventions after that before September 1st?
No, nope. So basically, me personally, yeah, this episode comes out. I'll be driving home. No, I'll be home. It'll be the day after Ohio TerrorCon, which I'm so excited about, and I apologize to our audience for, because I think there's 7 or 8 autographs I'm going to be getting there, so I'm going to be talking a lot on the poor segment after that one. I'll be gearing up for Hearst Fest, which is a 1-day show in Fowlerville, Michigan that I go to every year. I'd have to look at my calendar again. I want to say that's September 17th, but I'll be talking about that on a future episode. So right now, for me, it is just working on Haunting in the Hills, which is what that haunt is going to remain as far as the name, so we can do our best to churn out a decent product this fall and move everything forward out there with all the stuff I got going on out there.
I did do a radio interview today, prepping for the event in Burlington, Iowa. That's September 31st. We got so much shit going through our brains. August 31st. So yeah, I do have that.
I got to apologize to everybody right now. We're recording pretty late right now. We usually record about 12 hours prior to this, so we're just kind of both like different.
So yeah, we have the event, or I have the event, August 31st, Burlington Capitol Theater in Burlington, Iowa, showing the 1988 Blob, which is a remake of the original. We're going to do a live podcast after. It'll have hosts from I Like It Spooky, myself. Well, maybe, I don't know what else is going to happen. Rod might show up from the Wrong Podcast Died. Some people from Brett and Tony and Ash and Abe should be there. Some of the guys, if not all of them, from Attack of the Killer Podcast is going to be there. $5 tickets. You can get them at burlingtoncapitaltheater.com. Drinks at the Nightcap, which opens at 5. Movie, live podcast afterwards. Probably some drinks after the movie. Just come, hang out. We'll answer questions. We'll talk about the movie. We're probably going to record it, so it may end up being a bonus episode or maybe just an episode of this show so that you can have a break to work on more Haunting in the Hill stuff.
Rest easy, everybody. I threatened that I was just going to show up unannounced for this event, but I'm not going to. Rebecca's brother is going to be in town from out of state, and I've never met him, and so we're all going to get together. And then also there's an art festival fair thing going on in Royal Oak, Michigan that weekend. I've always kind of wanted to check that out, but they also include a concert series. I'm not the biggest country fan, but Rebecca is, and one of her favorite bands, a Cadillac 3, is going to be there on Saturday evening, and so we grabbed some tickets. We're going to check that out. Hopefully it's good, and if not, maybe I'll just drink.
Yeah, so like I said, maybe this ends up being a episode of I Like It Spooky, and you can have some time off to work on something, because you always got something going on. Hell, that'd be a nice break for you. Yeah. But yeah, I have that. And like I said, I'm prepping. I had a radio interview today with the local NPR station, which covers a 100-mile radius from where I live. I'm waiting to hear back from Remind Magazine. They wanted to talk to me about some upcoming events. And I think I have an interview lined up with the Burlington Hawkeye, which is the newspaper in Burlington, Iowa. But just a fun event. $5 for a movie and a podcast. I mean, that seems like a good deal to me.
Isn't that cool? Kind of taking this whole conversation, this whole episode full circle. Here we are at Flashback, and then I forget her name, and I apologize, but the rep from Remind Magazine just comes up to the table, and she's like, "So, what do you guys got going on now? What's new for this year?" And I thought that's so cool. Again, those things are great for networking, and she just knew, and we're not the only ones. Other podcasts do cool stuff, but she just knew these guys are going to have something going on I want to see and maybe get another article out of it. So it works for everybody. Very cool.
Yeah, so other than that, if you're not in the Burlington, Iowa area, you can head over to South Carolina for Spooky Empire. That's August 23rd through the 25th at this Embassy Suites by Hilton at the Charleston Airport Hotel and Convention Center in North Charleston, South Carolina. And then there's Gathering of the Ghouls 2024, which is August 24th and 25th in Mesa, Arizona, the Mesa Convention Center. And that same weekend, Hudson Valley Horror Fest and Fishkill, New York at the Fishkill Recreation Center. That's a cool town name.
What a weird name.
And then, Days of the Dead Houston is September 6th through the 8th at the Wyndham Houston near NRG Park Medical Center in Houston, Texas. Several cons. 1, 2. Yeah, Chicago Fan Expo, the last day of that, which is right across the street from where we were at. It's the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois. That's the 16th through the 18th. But kind of like we had said, and I know we talked about some of these on the last show, but the 16th, the 23rd, 24th. Then September 8th is Days of the Dead. There's a San Antonio con on the 7th. That's one day. And then it's like every weekend. This one weekend, which we can talk about on next show, is 5 cons in one weekend. Scattered throughout the U.S., but 5 cons. 6, 7, because these are one-day shows, and one's actually by me, so it's a one-dayer that I'll go check out in September on the 14th. So let me count this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 cons in that one weekend.
10 horror cons.
Scattered throughout the United States and just a little overwhelming for most people.
For me, I just kind of blanked out when you said all that. I was like, what? There's always something to do, always something going on. Like I said, last episode, and probably 10 before that, and probably 10 after this, is when you're going to these things, make sure if you need something to listen to that you look us up wherever you get your music, wherever you get your podcasts. We are available everywhere, wherever you want to. Make sure to subscribe to the I Like a Spooky Horror podcast. And then, of course, check us out on our socials, which are all of them. I think all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We used to list them all off, and now it's like there's as many social platforms as there are cons going on in just August around the country. All of them.
Until next time.
No, see, okay, yeah. You open the can of worms here. So if you haven't yet, there is a news. I don't know if I want to call you guys a subcast because I don't want to. There's a new. The Wrong Podcast died. Brian and Rod, Hot Rod, Steel Rod, Short Rod, Lightning Rod, fucking Rod. I love you, Rod. Have just recently introduced. They do a new pop culture podcast that airs the Sundays opposite of when these features come out. And I'll be goddamned if Rod didn't steal my little outro phrase. So while I'm thinking of something new to say, I'm just not going to say anything at all.
Bye.
Fuck you, Rod.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.